There's loads and loads of things outside the immediate control of the police that need to be being done there, and nothing's being done. In fact, funding's being taken away from all those bodies. There needs to be diversionary activities. There need to be community groups getting involved. Money's being taken away from them directly and indirectly via local authorities. All of those things are not happening. That leaves the police with trying to deal with the symptoms. The symptoms of all this social falling apart is kids carrying knives and using them more often. The only thing police have got, once they get to the point of kids carrying knives, is stop and search, and the government's been beating the police up constantly over the last few years saying don't do stop and search. Stop and search has plummeted, knife crime has gone up. We all knew it was going to happen. We've warned about it. The government, and Theresa May personally as Home Secretary, has not listened. In fact, quite the contrary, she's told us we're crying wolf and we're scaremongering.
I know that a lot of people listening to this will ask themselves this question, and I will ask it: is this a black crime problem?
There is disproportionality in relation to the suspects and the victims. If you look at the pictures of the victims, you look at the pictures of the suspects, when it comes to the teenage suspect victim or young 20s related to street crime, it is disproportionately young black males. That is nothing to do with their race. That is purely and simply because it's an inner London street crime thing. Who does that young males? Who are the young males in inner London? They're mostly black. If you go to other cities where the demographics are different, it will be white males. But where it's a London problem, that brings the ethnicity with it. It's nothing directly to do with the ethnicity, but there's a correlation because of the socio-economic factors.
We're talking about knife crime, but I want to bring in guns as well and other violent implements. Is knife crime by far and away, and looking at those figures that I read out from Operation Sceptre, it seems to be far and away the biggest problem when it comes to violence between young men in London?
For sure. It used to be that we had a peak of gun crime. What the police have got there is they've got an opportunity to cut off the supply. There are not many ways you can get hold of a gun, and there's a bit of police activity and you can cut off some of those, and that's been done fairly effectively. You just can't cut off the supply of knives. They're around, they're in everybody's kitchen, they're everywhere. If there's no effective way of stopping knives being available, you've got to stop people wanting to carry them, and that is where it gets. Police have got a role in education and all of that, but that's not their primary role. We haven't got enough cops to actually put people on the street. That's the main problem, really. The streets have been lost, and I would put it as strongly as that. The streets of London have been lost because there are not police officers patrolling. Why? Because police officers have been cut. Not many numbers in relation to London, but those that have been lost off the front line. But 30% of police staff doing all the backroom things have been lost. So lots of the cops that we theoretically still have aren't on the front line.
Wow, that is a very strong statement. The police have lost the streets?
Yes.
How much of London? All of it?
Inner London. But primarily there's not many police officers on the street anywhere in London, but the street crime is focused in inner London areas like we're talking about today, your Peckhams, your Southwarks, your Brixtons, your Brents.
Do you think, I mean, you're a former Detective Chief Inspector, do you think current police officers would privately say the same as you?
Yeah, they say it all the time to me. They're rushing about from job to job, very little proactivity, hardly anybody on safer neighbourhoods patrols. So the only cops you see on the street, think about it, the only cops you see on the streets are in cars whizzing from job to job. Where we've got temporary borough or projects, pilots of boroughs being combined, 3 boroughs in North East London, 2 in Camden and Islington, I'm being told that regularly there are emergency calls not even getting a response there, for the simple reason that even the response teams haven't got enough to go from call to call to call, let alone do anything proactive.
And when you talk about stop and search and the police having their hands tied by whichever government happens to be in charge at the time, are you saying that it's almost impossible to stop and search now? Because Operation Sceptre, they gave us their figures, and they said that in 1 week, how many people stopped and searched? 822. Doesn't sound like the police's hands are tied. It's
perfectly possible in law, but the government, and that comes out through whenever there's a complaint to professional standards or the IPCC, the gist of the instruction is we don't want you doing stop and search. So cops have stopped doing stop and search. It has plummeted. I mean, if you look at the graphs, it is absolutely plain as a pikestaff that stop and search has gone down and knife crime and other street crimes have gone up. Everybody knew it. Everybody that knows anything about policing said it would happen. The academics, the critics, the politicians all said, no, you're crying wolf, you're scaremongering. I'm afraid everything we predicted has happened, is continuing to happen, and what we're predicting now is it's going to get worse, and it's going to be almost impossible to put the cat back in the bag, will happen as well. Nobody is listening. This government, and Theresa May in particular, have been criminally negligent with the safety of the public, and they're getting away with it because the opposition haven't been.
Are you saying they're to blame for this young boy's life being taken?
I would go so far as to say, not directly, obviously, but in general terms, they have got blood on their hands. They have played fast and loose with the safety of the public. They have been warned. They have known they've been warned. They have rejected the warnings, crying wolf, scaremongering, specifically over a period of years, and it is all now happening. If that isn't something they're accountable for, I really don't know what is.